Nice to meet you all. Name's Billy from KUD. I'm the director at KUD. Here to present the Kew Office building project. So the Kew Office is situated in High Street, Kew, Kew Junction. The actual developer is actually occupying the upper level. It's just a recently completed project. So the site itself is, as I said, it's in near Kew Junction. Little red mark here is the actual site itself. The junction's further down. So you can see the blue areas, which are all sort of established, older, somewhat 3 to 4 story mixed-use sort of spaces. Our site has a dual aspect site, so there's a like a right of way at the back and fronting on High Street. Had many challenges with respect to levels, services, the tram lines and so forth, because the site's only approximately 600 square metres, so it was a very complicated little project to deal with all the infrastructure. So the primary objective for us was to try and incorporate a building that was contextually responsive. So to the left you will see here we had some Victorian terraces, and to the right we had a building. Obviously these two things are in opposition, and we had to try and mediate somewhere in between those sort of two things. And so the building is actually just an office building that is meant to be just for warm shell. So the idea was that the developer was actually going to rent the spaces out, and our role in terms of the warm shells was quite limited. It was more about the skin of the building, the actual building itself, the entry facilities and the car parking areas. So the objective was to try and find some notional built form along the main area, which was sort of somewhat discernible through these buildings, and then actually try and respond. The site faces north, which was the ideal situation for a building of this nature. So we started off with obviously a block, that's the extrusion of the block, 5-story building, and then given the heritage nature of the streetscape and the requirements, we had to obviously cascade the building back to sculpt to get an end outcome. And so this was also enabled us to actually create some really deep recesses to create some good shading, given it faced north. And so the building is a 4-star Green Star building, which is waiting for accreditation, 6-star Neighbours building. We had a lot of discussion in the early stages about a very environmentally conscious building and making sure that we delivered something that was going to be looking to the future. So lots of bicycle parking, lots of EV, solar and water harvesting and so forth. So the plan itself, as you can see, is basically irregular to the rear, so it's got a chamfer that cuts off to the rear, High Street running along through here. So this offered opportunities to try and get the core centralised. Now, this has a 3-level basement, which we'll see in a section shortly, so it was very difficult to try and get the cars to work, and we wanted to centralise the core, 1, to get the basement to work, 2, to actually get some nice light, deep penetration in through here, but also enabled us to get light ventilation into 2 sides of the building and a small section through here, which is the access or the right-of-way through there. Interestingly enough, for this particular project, the client wanted to put the end-of-trip facilities on every floor and not in a basement, which was his prerogative, and really stressed that at the inception of the project. So that you'll see them sort of in the core through there. And so the section through the building, you can sort of see a triple basement with lots of cross ventilation through the spaces and a small roof terrace over the top. And I guess you'll see here how we use the architectural language to actually create some nice awnings given the northerly aspect. So the typical sort of warm shell environments like this is to the rear. So part of the I suppose the architectural language was that we wanted to use a monochromatic palette, given that the building is largely a brutalist concrete expression. And so this narrative is sort of carried out through the space internally. So you sort of see this section in through here. It's almost as deep as it is tall, and the cars sort of circulate around this core through here, and you'll see the building sort of stepping up in both directions as you go up the space. So one of the things that we did recognise with this particular building is that we sort of took a view that a lot of these buildings neglect the boundary interfaces and sort of just treat them as blank walls. We saw that as an opportunity to create something interesting architecturally, and it's really just a skin or a veneer. But what we did was we actually took a motif, a floral motif, and actually have a 3D mould made of it, and that became the precast panel. And tried to get some relief into the facade, so that when it hits east and west, you get some bit of shadow play, and the building behaves differently on the interface of the boundary, because they're actually highly visible. They're not just spaces that are actually going to get built up over time. Some of these walls will actually be like this in perpetuity, we felt. So we wanted to make sure that what you're actually seeing is part of the architectural language and not just left over as a blank panel. And so this is a good example of that, where you have the rear of the building. There's a big setback. You can sort of see how this beautifully western sun hits the facade. And so we felt that in these sort of buildings, a lot of the times they're treated as back of house and not considered. We kind of felt that this building was going to be seen through all aspects. And so we wanted to treat each facade democratically. And so this is one of the first terraces. There are 3 terraces. This is the first podium terrace. So this scalloped effect through here, which is part of the design narrative, actually also becomes the awnings to the space. It also sort of creates a heroic gesture to the street and sort of theatrical gesture. So we wanted to get something articulated without losing too much of an NLA, which is obviously critical for the client. And as you go up again to the upper level, you'll see here the second terrace through here, which is the client's office, and then the roof terrace up the top. And so one of the things that we were interested in doing is to make sure that the design ideas that are carried out externally are actually translated internally, whether it be through material, through form, or just simply the colour texture of the colour palette of what we're doing for the proposal. So you sort of had some unified language, given that we didn't have much control of what the fit out would be once tenants moved in. And so the foyer became a very interesting little design exercise. So for us, we were interested in making it sensory and moody. And so these sort of fillets that you see on the facade are actually reflected into the space as well. And then the mirrored ceiling sort of gives you this infinity effect and creates this really interesting play. And so this wall through here creates this pelmet. And so all our services and lighting was sort of captured in that pelmet and sort of enhance that sensory perception of what you do when you actually traverse through the building. And so this is a beautiful moment that you see at the end of the facade, sort of creating this illusion of larger space and also connection from the outside into the